At 9:03, I will call this meeting Extension, Education, and Communication Committee to order. We have I will certify open meeting law requirements have been met through proper posting. We have a 10-item agenda. What are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion. Can you have a second?
I'll second. Okay.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Agenda,
Need a motion to approve the September minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried. Museum update, Nance.
Thank you. Actually, the website was down for a couple weeks, and I got a hold of Ted, the computer guy, the webmaster, whatever you want to call it, and told him about it. Unfortunately, he was in the hospital having surgery on his hands or something, so he didn't get it back up for about a week, but then he did. And we still don't know why it went down. He said it was some kind of a plug-in issue or something maybe, but it's up there again, and so we've been going through it trying to see if there's anything missing or in the wrong place, but it is up there. And I had a bunch of people that were alerting me that it wasn't working. Other than that, we had the schoolhouse down at the fairgrounds open for Apple Affair. And I was expecting, I hadn't been to Apple Affair, I'd never really been there. I was expecting maybe a trickle of people through there, and it was just a herd. It was a constant flow of people, and it was wonderful.
Sorry about that. What do I need to turn on?
Pat has always been disruptive, hasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, you should be able to keep going.
Okay. Do your feedback.
I think you're good now.
Okay.
You want to mute yours?
I think she is.
Yeah, I think it's okay now. I guess the only other thing is to report is that Mary Anderson and I, we're still churning out our History Files programs through the TV station. And next Sunday is Halloween. And so this week in heavy rotation will be the one we did last year on Lavender Lily. So
Sorry, I like watching her videos.
immensely popular one, Lavender Lily. And Sunday, Mary and I are planning on going out late in the afternoon and going back up on the ridge to see if we can see her, because it's Halloween, so we'll see. And we've had so many people tell us about how they went looking for Lavender Lily. Gosh, it was just...
No, I'm ignorant. Can you give me a little background on Lavender Lily?
You didn't hear about Lavender
Nope.
Lily? Oh, well, supposedly it's this pretty young girl who walks the ridge up there, Montana-Tyson Ridge, and as she's walking, the original story was a couple of boys saw her walking, and they gave her a ride home, and it was a cold night, so they gave her a jacket. So they took her home and to her farm up there and dropped her off, and then they drove off, but then they realized that they had forgotten the jacket that they'd loaned her. So they go back to the house and go and knock on the door, and the two people that open the door, and they say, they explain about the daughter having their jacket, and they say, oh, this is really cruel. Our daughter died a year ago today.
Mm.
And so then they drive off, and as they're going by that little Catholic cemetery up there on Tyson Ridge, they see a jacket, their jacket hung there on one of the tombstones. There's a lot of moving parts to this story, but that's basically it.
Okay.
And I will tell you, everywhere I live has this story.
Yes.
It's local.
It is. It's even out of, like, Chicago has a version, and on the East Coast.
Although every morning I walk on Silver Fox Ridge, so maybe on Halloween I will put, I will put a lavender lily dress on and walk on the ridge and scare the crap out of them.
Yeah, be careful doing that.
So I guess that's my report. You got any questions?
Thank you, Nancy.
Oh, I do have one.
Okay.
We just finished a program on famous disappearances in the county, and you were actually featured in one. Oh. Not that you disappeared.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm back.
Yeah, your picture is on there, but it was like 1984, so it was a little while ago.
What was I doing?
That was when John Eagleson disappeared.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you will be on television.
That was a winter disappearance, and John was miraculously discovered when somebody found his glove in a snowbank back here. His hand was in the glove, but interesting because they had looked for him for some time.
Well, we
and
featured
didn't
four
find him
different
till
ones.
spring.
2 disappearances were eventually solved. One, probably not, and the last one was from 1926, and it was such a sensation, it made newspapers even out in New York and Chicago and all over. It was just, and they never did solve that one, so.
I don't remember the individual's name, but more recent than Mr. Eagleson was elderly male at some risk. His family was concerned, and he was a wanderer and disappeared, and I think he was found in the spring south of here.
That was Albert Misch,
Oh, okay.
and we featured that too. And I just want to say he was an interesting person because he had actually won a Bronze Star during World War II. He was an excellent welder and fabricator, and he had made some parts that enabled him to fix B-17s quickly and get them back into the air. So he was an amazing person, really. Yeah, and he was found, so. But anyway, that's something for you to look forward to.
Yeah. I mean, when I start wandering more than
Yeah.
I do now?
Yeah, there we go, another subject. All right.
Thank you, Nancy.
You bet.
Number 6, Pat, I'm guessing this is your bailiwick. Review and approve 2022-136 contract for extension services.
Yes. Annually. Sorry about that. I don't make a disruption when I need to. Annually, the committee takes a look at and signs off on the 136 contract, and it's just the agreement between the university and the county. All of them look the same. The only difference is the county name and then the amount of money. So this looks just the same as last year's. The big difference has to do with positions and the amounts that are in there. So in the contract, we have an ag extension educator for $21,800. It's a flat fee of $43,600 per educator, and then we just allocate it based on the percentage. Human development and family, and that's Adam, is $43,600. 4-H program educator is Andrea, and that's $21,800. And then a community extension educator, $21,800. We continue to receive the first educator discount, which is they take $10,000 off the bill. So for the shared positions, that's $99,000, and then the Hort position isn't shared. That's total county dollars, and the position itself is shared with Jackson, and that's $27,278. So the total is $126,278. You will not be charged more than that if we have openings or other reasons. It may be less than that, but that's what the contract says. Other than that, no other real changes in it. And we would just need a motion, and then everybody gets to sign off on it. Do you have any questions about it?
Now, just so I got this straight, this is not revenue.
It is not revenue, unlike,
The state is not paying us.
the state is not paying you. What the, I know, it's a university, if they can, yeah. They cost share, and unlike other departments like land conservation or human services, where they actually send money to the county and then the county does its thing with it, this is, the university takes a payment from the county, and then they use that money to offset their expenses in paying the educators. So, like when we do our budgets and stuff, you never see that revenue show up. I mean, it comes into the county, because we're living here and we're spending money here, and you're not having to pay that whole thing. But, yeah, it's not revenue in any way.
Rats.
Yeah, big rats. Giant sewer rats from
Yeah.
Paris, France.
We need a motion to sign up for 2022, correct?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Is this more or less the same amount as it has been prior?
Actually, it's budget-wise, yeah. It represents an increase in the flat fee from last year. They usually have about a 2 or 3% increase, to try and keep things equal.
Right,
But
no, I
yeah,
understand that. Okay.
so,
Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried.
and I will send this up your way so you can sign off on it and pass it around, and then I will get it sent off to the powers that be.
Sounds like a plan. Educator reports. Who wants to go first? Careful. Thank you.
I'll go. I've had, I don't want to say blunders this past month, but everyone wants in-person programming during COVID, and then no one signs up for in-person programming during COVID. So I had Clover College planned for October 16th, and I had 9 people pre-register for it, and with the amount of people who I had coming, I wasn't able to hold it, so I was kind of disappointed, and I had to cancel. I've had this happening since I got here, because I got here and then COVID happened. I did not create it. But it's been a little frustrating, so, because I've held a program similar to this in my previous counties, and it was a big success. We had over 60 participants, and it was really good. So I'm hoping that next year we'll be able to do something similar, and we'll just keep trucking. But I'm sad, because this is part of my job that I really enjoy. So moving on from there, I'm actually planning another virtual cookie baking workshop that I did last year, that we had over 80 participants in through multiple counties, and I was teaching in, and it was really great. You get to cook with kids, but they cook in their own homes so that you don't have to clean it up. That sounds terrible, but they're cooking with their parents. They're using stuff that they have. It's great. We had a really great success with it last year, and we've got some of the cookies we picked out for this year. We're doing cultural cookies, so it's not just Christmas cookies per se. We've got cranberry cornmeal cookies, which are a Native American recipe. We've got, I can't remember how to say them, but they're a Greek recipe. One of our educators, his family is from Greece. I picked a meringue cookie so that we have to work with like egg whites, and it's only 4 ingredients, but it's going to be a skill one where then you have to put it in the piping bag and you have to pipe it out. So like we're building skills as we're doing this as well. And then the last one we're going to make is going to be a Yule log cake. So, I mean, we'll need some special stuff for that, but we'll be able to make it work. So it's a really, I mean, if we think about it, not everyone's baking anymore. A lot of people buy stuff, but this is a great way for kids to then bake with their families. We're going to start it in after Thanksgiving in November, and it'll go until the week before Christmas. We'll meet once a week via Zoom, and each week we'll give them fun facts about the cookies they're making along with the recipes, and we'll walk them through it step by step. So it's a really great program, and we had a really good success for it last year, and I think this is something that we'll probably continue to do with the group of educators I have, because like I said, kids are baking in their own homes with their families. We don't have to clean it up, but we also get to teach good life skills with it, because let's be honest, like we all should know how to bake, or at least something of that kind once we leave the house. So that's one of the programs that I'm working pretty heavily on right now. Other than that, just starting to prep my winter calendar. I've got VIP trainings that I'm always working on. I do those monthly for both counties so that I can get leaders trained, because that's one of the main things. If you want to be a certified leader and you want to work one-on-one with kids, I need to have you trained so that you know like your mandated reporter rights, what you need to know about that, how to work one-on-one with youth, how to be safe, and then we also do a background check so that not just any Joe Schmo can come in and say, I'm a 4-H volunteer, because that I don't want to know what would happen when we have that. So that's a lot of what I'm working on beyond charters, which are almost done. Those are sometimes the death of me, because I can send out reminder emails, calls, and whatnot, and people go, oh, wait, those are due? Yes, they're due. I need those in now, please. So that's just how the 4-H clubs do their taxes. So I just have to make sure that their finances are in check, and then I get to fill out their IRS paperwork for them and go on from there. So that's a lot of what I'm doing this month beyond moving. We're finally moving into our house. So we bought it in January, and now we have electricity. I know, it's big. So sorry, that's what's on my mind right now. But other than that, do you guys have any questions for me on what I've been up to these past couple weeks?
So, not a question, but a comment. And I don't know what it was, but I woke up this morning and my wife was watching some video content that you had produced, and she really
right.
enjoyed it and was getting a lot out of it.
So I actually have Derek to thank for that.
Okay.
So when the newsletter was giving me a real time, publisher crashed on me 3 times when I was trying to do a newsletter a couple months ago, and Derek said, hey, do you want to do a virtual one? And so I'm hoping I'm happy that Lindsay's using it.
She did. Like I said, I woke up and was like, what are you watching? And she's on her phone watching video of you.
So, oh, good.
Okay.
Your most recent has 53 views.
Does it really? Okay, the last one ended with 60. So if we're at 53 already and I posted it on Thursday, that's awesome. So I'm using that as I want to give people another way to get the newsletter content without having to read the whole newsletter, because I'm finding that people are going, Andrea, wait, what's going on? And I'm like, that was in the newsletter. Oh, wait, it was? So I'm giving them the highlights of what I want them to know verbally. It's mainly so, people can hear my voice and see me, because not everyone has gotten the opportunity to meet me yet. And so I fear sometimes when I'm writing emails that they don't understand how I'm coming across in the email. And so this is a way for them to literally get me. This last time I was coughing most of the time because my throat got dry, but like just my mannerisms and everything and how I speak. So I'm happy that she's watching that, and that we're going to continue doing it. I have big plans for what we'll do later, but I think it's a good first step to, utilize the TV studio here, because we're very fortunate to have it, but also just give our members a different way to get the information that I have out there.
Yeah. No, she enjoyed receiving it that way, so
Awesome.
It was good.
Oh, thank you. I totally forgot about that, and I was going to say something. But, yeah.
Next.
I don't think you got my report.
I don't think I got your report. Thank you.
It's pretty obvious that we don't function well without a support staff person. So in the interim time between Michelle leaving and Pamela coming on, we just kind of flare.
There's wandering.
Barely drowning. So I feel like. I feel like I haven't reported to you in quite a while. I mean, the last recollection I have was I had to go to Farm Tech Days, so I quickly went through. And then I think, at a conference the last time you had a meeting, and then our last meeting got canceled. So I'm going to take us back to summertime, which seems like a lifetime ago now, and kind of report on some of the things that I've been working on. One is, I spoke at the local government education fall workshops that they have around the state. I spoke at several of them. One was in Eau Claire, one was in Toma, and then I did the virtual one. And that was just on our work on increasing representation on town boards, mainly town boards, but city councils, school boards, et cetera. A colleague and I, we just did a piece for the School Board Association magazine that Pat receives. I'll get your autograph copy soon if you want it. And then we just did a podcast for them as well. Apparently they have a podcast, which is kind of a cool function. We did a podcast for them on just, increasing representation of who we see, local government tends to, not always include younger people or people with families. And so we did a session on that. And then also the town workshop presentation I did was on planning tools. So like comprehensive planning, financial planning for municipal government. I am in election training season now. I thought I was going to get this year off, but both Paul Severson and then my county clerk in Clark County both asked me to do training sessions before the end of this year. And election training is very intense because I train about 500 people in like a 2-week time. And this year it'll be in person, but with a virtual option, which is, always like a mix of trying to get technology to work in different venues. So I do a couple sessions here in Trempealeau County, a couple in Clark County, and then I also go to Buffalo and Jackson counties, and then I do a virtual one for basically anyone in the state who needs training. So next year there are 4 scheduled elections starting in February, and election workers need 3 hours of training. And they like refresher courses right before the election season starts. So I work with the county clerks to come up with material that we want to have. Right now in Trempealeau County, we all got new voting equipment, so that's going to be part of the training is how to use that new voting equipment because it's a lot different than what we've had. I did host a session here in Trempealeau County in August on entrepreneurial development. And a colleague from mine, who's a state specialist, she does really great work. She got a big grant to do it, and she had asked me to host it here in Trempealeau County, and I was very honored because she's fabulous. And I was a little disappointed with the turnout. We did have about 15 to 20 people attend. It was a 2-day workshop. And, I invited everyone on the county board. I did invite local government in Arcadia. And I did not hear from anyone in Arcadia about anyone elected in Arcadia, nor the mayor or the city administrator. Nobody came, even though I sent them personal invitations a couple times. But I did have a lot of entrepreneurs and quite a diverse mix of people and businesses. So that was kind of cool. Beth Killian did, she had other commitments, but she did come to both days for part of the day. So that was nice to have her there. But it was just about how we support small businesses in rural communities. And there was also like great food and snacks. So it was a really nice program, and I was glad we were able to host it here.
And then over the summer, I facilitated an 8-week childcare business development class, and this was a grant that we got from the Small Business Development Center to help new and existing childcare businesses with learning, the ins and outs of running a business. So taxes, licensing, training, rules, all these things. And it was put on by 2 trainers from the Wisconsin Early Child Development Association, I think is their acronym. And they did a really great job. And so we started out with about 20 in the class, and we met every week for 8 weeks, which is a huge commitment in the summer because it was a couple hours on Monday evenings, which is also a struggle. But it was a great session, and then it helped existing childcare businesses and many of them to just stay in business, and then a couple new startups, which is always neat too. And my colleague that kind of initiated this, she's working on some more initiatives, and it went really well. I also partnered with Western Dairyland Childcare Resource and Referral, and what we did is we subsidized some of the classes that they had, so because we had this money, but we had to spend it by September. So I worked with them to subsidize spots in their classes so that other people could get, there's these mandatory trainings that childcare workers have to take, and this helped them with that training and to pay for it. So that was kind of cool to, bring those resources here locally. And then I completed the year 3 of the multi-year well water study here in Trempealeau County. We identified about 120 wells within a mile or 2 of the Trempealeau River several years ago that we wanted to conduct yearly testing on these wells to see if there were any changes in water quality, nitrate levels, et cetera. And so we just wrapped that up. We started with 120, and then there were just over 80 that participated in year 3, which we expected some people to drop off, and but that was still pretty good retention. And I'm just waiting for the final results, and then in land records, she's been mapping them, which is kind of cool to see the changes because she's got amazing skills when it comes to that. And so looking forward to that and having that project completed. In addition to that, I do have ongoing water testing for homeowners here in Trempealeau County that homeowners can go to Dairyland Labs in Arcadia, pick up a bottle, test their water, and we do a cost share on that. Last week, Pat and I met with Ann and Tess from Land Records, Mike Kornman, the new land management director, and then Jen from the health department, just talking about getting caught up to speed on some of the water programming that we've done, but then planning for future programming too. So that was a really productive meeting about where we want to go in the future with water testing. And then also in August, I went to San Diego and I presented at the Egg Plastics Recycling Conference. The conference is usually held every other year, and I have gone to it the past several times. It didn't happen last year, of course, and so they moved it to this year. It's a great conference, and I paired up with a professor from University of Washington who did a similar survey to the one that I did, and we're looking at another survey of farmers here in Wisconsin and then in the state of Washington on egg plastics usage. And one of the things I have going on in Clark County is a recapture bag program. I think you have recapture bags, Kellen, don't you? No? Okay. For farmers to recycle their silage plastic or grain bags. I have a pilot program in Clark County starting that'll identify 20 farmers, and we just kind of look at their plastics usage and how easy it is for them to recycle. And so I got a Sustainable Egg Research grant, so I've been doing some programming. I did a collection in June, which I know I told you about, but now I'm kind of moving forward with some other things. So those are just the highlights that I wanted to make sure I let you know about. Any questions from me?
Next.
April?
All right, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic, good morning. So Food-Wise Coordinator for Jackson and Trempealeau County. So kind of like Melissa said, giving an update from the end of the summer up until this point. So our fiscal year for Food-Wise starts on October 1st. So we just transitioned into ending our one fiscal year and beginning the next. So some of the things we did in preparation to getting to that start, we had some curriculum trainings. The one that we attended was called Around the Table. A lot of mindfulness included in with our nutrition education. We had 4 trainings plus homework sessions, and then follow-up sessions on how we might implement that curriculum. A really, really big part of Sandy and my time has been getting lessons ready for our Cooking Matters lessons with Head Start. We actually just completed our first lesson, which was Say Yes to Vegetables. We had 5 families participate from 2 different centers. We invited 4 different centers. Lots of work went into getting that ready, the PowerPoint slides, figuring out what recipes and videos we would use in that virtual programming, back to getting the promotional flyer ready. And then a really big part of it is getting materials ready in Spanish. So we worked with UW-Madison's interpretation translation team to get those materials ready. Unfortunately, we didn't have anyone attend that needed those services, but they were ready, for folks who needed that. We're gearing up for our next lesson, which is in November with Hack Your Snacks. So again, doing the same types of work. And then in December, we're doing a program called Drink to Your Health that's going to focus on decreasing sugar in our beverages that we drink. So lots of work around that, very exciting. We're still able to offer take-home groceries for families. So the recipe that we feature, they actually get those groceries. We drop them off at the centers and families pick those up so that they can make the recipe that we featured at home. Completed our civil rights training for UW Extension, completed our midpoint conversations, both mine with Pat and then mine with Sandy. Lots of communication with schools about their back to school plan. And so we actually have started our Food-Wise programming in the Arcadia district, but I'll let Sandy talk more about that. I also was asked for, I think it's my 6th year doing it, to do the new staff training for Western Dairyland Head Start around poverty and food insecurity. And 17 participants virtually attend that, and it was a 2-hour long presentation. So lots of great information shared to our new staff working with Head Start. And again, ended the fiscal year with getting our evaluation system, which is called PAIRS, closed out and then restarting to see what changes have been made in that system. And then lastly, we've been working with the state level Food-Wise team on Harvest of the Month. So every month we have a different featured item. We have postcards that go home with students and doing a lot of Facebook posts about that item, as well as Cooking Matters materials. So people are really, it seems like with the engagement that's happening there, people are utilizing that on Facebook. So it's good to see that. I'll turn it over to Sandy.
Okay, Food-Wise continued. Right now we're working in the Arcadia School District. We have 11 classrooms I'm working with, 5 kindergarten, 6 second graders. And we're kind of still doing that somewhat virtual and real. So I'm taking food samples down to the school so the students can try this food sample, a piece of fruit or a yogurt parfait last week or whatever, to encourage them to try new foods they've never eaten. But then I run back up to my house and I do it virtually to all 6 classrooms at a crack, because that's the time zone that they can fit into their busy, busy classroom day. So it's been an interesting, quick adventure there. So that's going well, and we'll be approaching other schools. I haven't nudged too hard yet. I'm kind of waiting to see how COVID was coming down, and then we'll approach Independence and Whitehall here shortly. So we'll see what their policies are and how they feel about people coming into the classrooms. So that's coming along. Over summer, I went to visit our food pantries, which I can now go to because COVID went down a little bit. Only one food pantry is allowing people to come in, and that one is the one up in Osseo with the Osseo Fire Department, the Tri-County one. And they go through the fire department, so the doors are open, so it's still open air. Everybody else is still, you pull up and you get a set amount of groceries. We tend to, as Food-Wise, we would prefer people to choose their food because you waste less, right? Because people take what they want rather than, if you don't like corn, we give you corn. Well, now you're stuck with corn, right? So, or peas, oh my. And then we're working a little bit with the pantry people saying, well, what do we do with our Hispanic folks because they have a different type of food preference. They're not accustomed to canned foods as much, so no, we're out there handing them a whole bunch of canned foods and packaged Hamburger Helper, and they're like, well, we don't eat this, you know. So we're kind of trying to educate pantry people a little bit to start shifting maybe what we're ordering and how we're ordering it and how we're giving that out. I work with the Arcadia Pantry. We're looking at having more of a choice table that includes some of the Hispanic cornmeal they use for tortillas and more of the pinto beans. My older people like, oh, we don't want those old pinto beans in our bags, you know. So we're trying to teach accommodation and outreach to everyone in our county. So that's a sideline that I work on most months. I don't know if this went out in your packets or not. Last month, before we canceled, we had a little handout here on the Thrifty package that you may have heard about, that the USDA is kind of changing how much food we need and the types of food we eat, because that's been shifting over the last 40 years. So pre-pandemic, the average person on food share, Quest cards, whatever, would be $121, but then it went up with the pandemic, and that shift was supposed to end here in October. So we were supposed to go back down again, and with the Thrifty plan, that 121 would be 169 instead of 133. So that would, but it hasn't quite happened yet. And I was on a seminar, and people are talking, might happen around January. It'll be kind of like a cliff where you're used to getting a check of $200 for groceries, and then you're going to drop down to $100. And, you know, that's right around Christmas time, you're not going to have the dollars you're hoping to use to feed yourself. So we're kind of waiting on government policy on that one. And then I try to pass that along to food pantry people, because then they'll order more food, because we'll have an uptake again at the food pantries. Right now, our numbers are down because they have $200 to spend on your groceries. You don't need to come to a food pantry as much. So we're always kind of that opposite. But the food pantries in our county do awesome. You should be very proud of all those wonderful people. So that concludes mine. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that Adam is still homesick. Sorry about that. One thing that has happened is that our Hoot House program coordinator started on the 5th, and that's Monica Kamrowski-Lopez. And she comes in once a week and works and is starting to build up the relationships with the schools. And we are very excited to have her. And as money allows, if we have the money, she'll be working with some of the other programs to increase our access to the Hispanic audiences. So we're very excited about that. And I am sure that Steve is home with his wife, doing things. That sounded awful. I'm sorry, Steve.
Quit while you're ahead there.
Yes, so he's on leave today. I'm hoping he'll be able to join me for the interviews. I did want to take this opportunity to introduce you to our new office coordinator. She started with us on Thursday. I think most of you know her, Tammy Munson. Say hi, Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
And we're very excited to have her on board. And yeah, we were floundering without help, so we are very glad to have her with us. And the rest of today, my day, is going to be filled with interviews of horticulture educator potential candidates. So that's where we are with that. And we will get better. It's been, I've had 3 funerals in the last 2 weeks, so I'm a little behind things. And I'm not apologizing. So,
that pretty much cover the educator reports?
I believe it does.
Okay, next is discussion and possible action on the TV studio department renaming ordinance. I will read it, I guess.
Well, it's pretty much the same as what was at the last meeting, just a couple words changed. Because you guys approved this at the last meeting, but we had some people worried about confusion between the communications department and the dispatch. So
Of course.
we're coming back with the option of digital media department instead. So otherwise it's exactly the same, just digital media instead of communications.
Well, then we can forego my reading it. I would entertain a motion to accept this as presented with those changes from last month's meeting.
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on this resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you.
You just need to sign that then?
It has to go to exec finance and then county board.
Well, committee can sign it and send it on. Can we set the next meeting date?
Oh,
Doc?
look who's here.
Hey, it's Adam.
Sorry. I already wrote you down for not being.
Hey, you're just in time. Take it away.
So what I've been doing in the last, since our last meeting, correct?
Correct.
One of the biggest things that we did is, with my involvement in various coalitions, is we actually brought together, kind of for the first time in the county, as far as I know, brought together a large number of coalitions that have similar mandates. So there's a Resilient Trauma-Informed Communities group, there's a Youth Alliance group, there's a Jail to Community Reentry group, and there's a National Alliance on Mental Illness group. And they've all got a little bit of overlap, similar mandates, similar struggles and challenges, similar goals. And so we came together just trying to start sorting through, kind of aligning priorities, things like that. And from that, oftentimes in those meetings, people connect, so they don't realize that there's an easy call-in center for crisis care, or that people are in need of a certain skill or a certain thing that they do. So that was a very positive meeting that we had. Additionally, we've been planning for some in-person events. So tomorrow I'll be going to Arcadia Elementary School for a math night that they have. And we brought on Monica Komorowski-Lopez a couple of weeks ago, and we're starting to plan out some of our Latinx programming for the spring. So that's kind of the main high points.
Thank you.
Childcare is an issue. Childcare is an issue. That's why Melissa has been working hard on that as a programming issue.
I am also the victim of childcare issues.
Be glad that your grandpa's.
Yeah, life
Most
was
of you.
different.
Yes, it
in
is
the
very.
past. The last time I had to pay for childcare, $1.25 an hour.
Don't say that.
Of course.
Hey,
When I
you
was a
can-
child, I had a mother that was at home, so,
Yeah, well, the world is different, and
yes,
we know
the
that.
world is different. We're looking at November.
Yes, we are.
What's our normal
I didn't make you come back.
Meeting date.
Last Thursday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanksgiving? Who's cooking?
My daughter.
Like on Thanksgiving, 25th.
You want to push it the week after, maybe?
That makes it December 2nd,
Or I was thinking like do a Monday again or something.
the 22nd.
29th or 22nd or whatever. I don't care.
Call it out.
Gentlemen? Yes?
29th, 22nd, well, I guess I don't care. I shouldn't say.
29th, I would vote for the 29th.
That'd be best.
29th?
9 a.m. on the 29th. Whoop. Turn that down.
And Tammy, what we'll have you do is if you, when the meeting's over, if you go up and call down to Paul's office and check to make sure that 9 on the 29th is available for this room. Thank you.
All right. I'll adjourn the meeting at 9:50 a.m.